Hello and welcome to Pacific Northwest Gothic, a lyrical weird fiction podcast inspired by the Pacific Northwest. I'm your host, Elsie Clay, and I've been waiting for you. Please be advised, today's installment explores themes of death and dying, climate change, and injustice. As always, please take care, dear listener. But since it seems you have the time, I hope you'll come sit with me and a friend of mine in the dark for a little while. Newcomer, or perhaps you've been here before, human. Yet another child of wind and change come to witness my stillness, my corpse upon the ledge hurtling ever slowly towards death. Oh, but you are different, in a way, I suppose. As different as many of my watchers are. Foreign pollen, foreign spores, but some familiar, some remnant from the tyrant of the Blue Mountains. Why do you come to me bearing such fatal gift? But it has been, yes, some time since I knew the shape of words within a human mind, enough to speak, even as my limbs creak and crack like death knells carried on the wind. What am I? What am I to you? Why do I speak? I do not, stranger. Your mind speaks for me. Through the spores, a translator bound up in thought. I stand here upon a precipice, and here I anchor myself in the dry and crumbling skin of an ordinary mountainside. Pulled taut, reaching for rays, ribbons of light trailing the sun for want of its violet gaze. That is all. Yes. More questions. Ever more questions, the lifeblood of humanity. I can wait a while longer, human, to see if you can search for the surface of silence. For what is waiting in an unwavering whiling? What is staying in a stationary subsistence? What would you, fractions of flesh and bone, know of steadfast existence? What would you, my eukaryotic comrades in the dust, know of living in stillness? Unbound, unattached and unfixed, your kin dislodge from friendly soil in a storm. Shiver and shake loose your ties and torment, cycle after cycle, and still displace yourselves. A heated storm front, even in your groves of metal and tar. My skin has seen more centuries than cities, more weather than any work committed by a human hand. I have broken bedrock for foundations. And yet, how fragile I become. Once I grew so fervently, and now fatigue grows fervidly within, hollows me out in handfuls rotten with aged decay. I cannot remember if I ever stood among a grove, or if my parentage grew near or far from this forgotten slope. And yet, a knowing sits upon my skin of years and epochs past. Data colored in connection rings through me in a knowing shared, sealed, and now diseased. You who camp and climb to watch millennia of life lost to entropy hold nothing that could comfort me. And yet what else would occupy me? Stilled and static, broken and yet affixed to graying ground. What insight can a species so inconstant, so discordant offer me? As you clamor and crack open the earth's crust and feast upon petroleum and coal, as you foster, farm, and volatilize my kin in your profane and defiled earth, as you fleece the hands that tend it, only to feast upon their young and that of any taxa deemed less aware and less urbane, less complacent and companionable. You who build metal scaffolds to clutch and scrape at the sky as your brethren scrape and expire in the starving cold. As you pollute land and sea alike with polymers and no sense of plasticity, as you heat the atmosphere, boil and roil it into cyclones and hurricanes, what knowledge would you name for a life 10 or 20 times your span? What vision would you provide my kind with our branches cradling heights hundreds of meters above your own. And yet I look on still, as you all live amidst the knowledge of a shortening life and a swift death assured, with limitation and liminality laced into every breath, looming and moralless mortality set within your firmament of blood and bone. You grow and change with the rapidity of the dying, and you reach for so much more than sky, so much more than sunlight, so much more than water, so much more than decomposing life forgotten in the soil, so much that I think you forget. Why, oh why do you reach? As I stand upon the mountain, lonely and dying by gradual degrees, I can't help but watch you die in parallel with me and wonder if you know, stranger, what it is you are reaching for. Thank you for listening, dear stranger. This has been Pacific Northwest Gothic. If you like what you heard, I upload a new episode every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on Spotify and sometimes a little later than that on YouTube and Substack. Speaking of which, I also realized last week that I could have been posting my episodes differently on Substack. Like, you know, as an actual podcast rather than just attaching audio to my posts. So, just be aware there may be some modifications and repostings of episodes on my Substack in the upcoming weeks. Full disclosure, this is not paid promotion. I have gotten no money to pitch this. If you're not aware of what Substack is, it is kind of like a social media platform created by creators for creators. It mainly functions kind of like a newsletter platform where artists are able to update their audiences, share content of theirs, monetize it if and when they see fit, and so much more. It occurred to me last week that not a lot of people know what Substack is, so for those of you listening on my other platforms, it's a pretty cool platform and I recommend giving it a look. Back to our usual programming. If you'd like to follow the podcast on social media and get more regular updates about what's happening with Pacific Northwest Gothic, you can find it on Instagram at PacificNW Gothic. If you'd like to support me and the work that I do, like, follow, subscribe, share links to the episode, and though I don't have much up on it yet, you can follow the link in the description to Pacific Northwest Gothic's Patreon. I'm your host, Elsie Clay, hoping to sit with you in the dark again next week.